We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We are back in the studio with Arthur and Ruben Ryapolov. These guys are my heroes. We're having so much fun. You guys have me so jacked up about so many things right now. Okay, so we want to do a deal-specific episode with you guys. We want to talk about, before the show, we asked them what's the worst deal they ever did, how much money they lose. They don't lose money on deals. So if you guys want to invest in deals, sevenfigurebuilder.com. You can go learn how to buy deals and not lose money like me and Trevor. They're much better at real estate than we are. But they know how to make deals, but they do have hard times. And we do want to talk a little bit to you guys just about what it's like to live the life of real estate moguls and what you go through. You know, the heartaches, the joy, you guys are a family business. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's wrapped up into this. So I'm going to let Trevor take over and he can ask you some questions.
I want to dive into the fixed 15.
Yeah, I was going to say
first.
Before we get there, now I want to know why you're jacked up and jacked and
just
excited.
listen to you guys talk about going viral on TikTok. I don't even know how to use TikTok. I'm 49 years old.
You're going to go to the meetup tonight and everyone just draws to Gabe and then he just talks for hours and he stays there till like 10 p.m. just talking to people. He just loves talking deals.
I'm the real estate preacher.
You just got to get in front of a camera and start clipping some reels and you're set.
Trevor tries to always get me on the camera.
Listen, I come home sometimes and I sit and I watch my own reels. So I'm just like you. I'm an old soul, you know.
Yeah.
I'll sit on my porch on my rocking chair. But at the end of the day, you hire the right team. They do the posting for you, and then you come home and laugh at your own
it's crazy. It's hilarious.
So it's possible.
All right.
You don't have to sit there on TikTok and learn how to post.
All right, we went way too side note. All right, go for it.
Yeah, I want to talk about this 15 unit apartment complex you built. Like, what'd you buy it for? How'd you go through it? What it looked like? What type of debt did you use? Just break it all down for us.
Yeah, so I saw it come up on the market. I actually drew a custom building plan, but I saw it come up. It looked like just a house, and then there's some bushes and whatnot. But when I went on the GIS, I saw that it was a half acre. And so a lot of times it's really hard. Most of what we do is off market. It's hard to see if a deal makes sense. I really geeked out on the county website, and so I'm sure you're the same where you know certain pockets of I want to go here, I want to do buy something there. Anyways, we buy it on the MLS. I knew the dimensions were just barely enough for a 15-unit apartment. If I couldn't do 15 and it was 12 or 14, it wouldn't really pencil. And so it was kind of one of those like a hidden gem, right?
Okay.
And so we ended up picking it up for just about $406,000. I did an escalation clause. There was a couple other offers. People were buying it to live in the home. It was like a 1,800 square foot house. So when I do MLS, I love escalation. I'm going to talk about that tonight where I bought a duplex on the escalation clause. And so picked it up. We bought it for cash with an investor. And then it took us about 12 months to permit. I don't know how detailed you want me to go, but I can kind of just go overview. 12 months to go through the permitting process. You know, we went through the land use, civil engineering, got everything approved. And then we owned it cash. What I did is just come in with a hard money lender and got a construction loan to build it out. There was enough equity where we could and at that time, rates were really good, 90% loan to cost, meaning you only had to put 10% down.
And you had the 400 in the deal now.
Yeah, so we had the 400.
Plus you entitled it. So
and the deal structure there was, it's cool because I used the money I made on my personal house to pay for the permitting. The investor bought the land.
How much did it cost with the permitting?
The permitting was probably around 150.
Oh wow. Okay.
150,000, and that includes survey, geotech, traffic, everything else, and then vertical as well. So architecture, engineering, all the whole 9 yards on that side of things. So I paid for all the soft costs to get it approved. The investor bought the land, and we went through that process. As soon as we got approved, we just got a construction loan. Just $400,000 cash was enough. And I was able to pull out the soft costs as well once we did that refinance to construction.
Okay. And then what'd you actually build it for, and how long did it take?
The build process, so the first year was to get the permitting done.
Yeah.
The second year, it was about 8 months to get it vertical. It was our first apartment complex ever, so that was interesting.
Did you understand commercial debt at that time, and you were looking to refi it, or you wanted to sell it?
To me, it was the same process as getting a house or getting a hard money loan for one house.
On the front end it is, but were you thinking commercial debt and DSCRs on the back end?
That was my thought process, is just build this out. Rates are cheap enough. It's enough down payment where I don't don't have penalties or anything else if I do like a 12 or 18 month term interest only, and then it goes to 5 year. I didn't want to do something like that at that time. And so it was just a hard money loan. The goal was to stabilize it, rent it, and then see what I could do if I could refi it and keep it. That was kind of the plan. The vision has always been, keep rentals. And then markets took a bit of a turn and the cash flow shrunk, and we got an off-market offer as well from a 1031 buyer. And so it kind of, all the pieces worked out really well, and it ended up being a great deal. To go back in time, if all of those pieces didn't line up, I don't know if I would necessarily do that deal again. And so sometimes it's timing, right? What somebody says, you could do everything right and it may not work, or you can do everything right at the right timing and it's like 20 times what you expected. And so I think, like we shared last episode, experience is everything. We didn't have the experience. We did it at the right time. We were forgiven a lot of mistakes, but there was still some loan extensions and other things that we had to pay through that process.
Was that due to the stabilization then at that point?
I did like an 18-month term, and I didn't know. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do an 18-month term.
But you built it in 8, though, right?
So we built it in 8 or 9 months. We got the loan. By the time we broke ground, we had to do some of the site work, right? So we came in, did all the sewer, water, underground, got the parking lot ready. It took us a couple months before paving. Then we started building 8 months vertical. Okay. So I was probably 12, 13 months into it. Okay. And then renting it took a few months. So we're like 15, 16 months in, and nobody buys an asset from the day it's stabilized. They want to see 90 days, months, right? Yeah. Like at least 90 days. And so then I had to have it rented for 90 days, and then the buyer has to close in 90 days. Yep. So I didn't understand any of that. I was just like, yeah, and the hard money lender's like, oh yeah, do it, and they know how they make money off of
Do they just
loans,
charge
right?
you a point to extend? Or?
So yeah, then they just charged me a point. So it was, it was actually, it was 1.5 points or 2 points at that time. People were pretty aggressive, and plus, when somebody has you in that position and you don't go and refi, I didn't necessarily have the experience. I don't want to say they take advantage, but you don't know what you don't know at the end of the day. So
they're a little predatory.
That's right. They
Who
are.
do you guys use for hard money?
Yeah, I ended up paying, I think, $40,000 extension fees and $30K a month in interest before it was even stable, or $20K before I had it stabilized. And you offer everybody a month of free rent, and so you're like, oh man, another $30,000.
You have a rent roll, but there's no income.
Yeah, there's no income, and so it's like you learn so many different lessons. And lender-wise, we used Sound Capital a lot. We do like Lima One Capital. You like, is it Flip Up? Flip.
Flipside,
sorry.
Okay.
Flipside's another lender that we do like working with them. And I'm not going to use the first lender that I paid 3 points and 12%. So
when you said if you had to do it over again and the stars did not align, what would you do differently on your next deal to make sure you were protected from some of those stars not being aligned? Would you go after a different kind of debt? Would that be your biggest mistake, you think, is going into hard
I think
money?
the debt is the biggest one. So the biggest lesson that both Ruben and I learned is the people that make the most amount of money in any market consistently is going to be the hard money lenders. If it's a bad market, they're still collecting. If it's a good market, they still collect their fees, whatever that looks like, if you don't structure it right. Structuring it the right way, where we could have done a interest-only loan that converted into a maybe 2-3 year perm, and you stabilize it for 1-2 years, that's easy to hold that, then go sell it, it would have been much different and much better than, let's say you pay hard money, you got to do an extension or refi it to another bridge loan, whatever that looks like, because you can't go do a 5-year loan. There's prepayment penalties and all these other things. And so I would say the debt is probably the biggest one.
So you do more of a construction to perm or something that gave you at least a longer runway to get it stabilized.
The cool part with those construction to perm loans in the commercial space is they'll give you an earn out too, where they'll let you pull all your money back out. So we just did this on a 40 unit, and we put $1 million in, $3 million purchase price, $1 million line of credit, and they let us earn our full $1 million back out on it too with perm debt. So no refinance or anything.
Wow. So I think, Arthur...
Well, and one last thing, why I say that same thing as apartments, building them, right, there's a certain cost. It takes that 15 unit, it's the same amount of effort, or maybe, I would say same amount of effort to go build some homes. So if you're planning to sell, go build single-family homes. It's the easiest thing to do. If you're planning to keep, go build some apartments. So like my dream and my goal is in the future, I would build out a 100-unit apartment complex, stabilize it, brand new construction, don't have to worry about repairs, etc. It'll have more longevity, more life, absolutely for a rental portfolio. But to be active and doing things, like the reason we're doing all these subdivisions, we're not doing apartments. We're doing these 2-story detached and attached townhome product because it's simple, and the buyer is a first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
It's a much different market. On the multifamily side, I realize when rates go up, it squeezes all the buyers. That's why. And so now you're dealing with hopefully getting a 1031 buyer that has enough cash to buy this, but you're no longer dealing with a large portion of people that finance a stabilized asset.
Question for you, Arthur. You mentioned you're in the entitlement cost, the investor is in the land cost. Why did you get a hard money loan when the parking lot and the site development work wasn't finished? I mean, you guys are already in that cash. You started the hard money loan way too early.
It's
Is that just a lesson?
300 and something thousand for the parking lot, so you got to bring another $300K to the table. So what I did is I wrapped it into the vertical side, and so the parking lot came out of, there's a section that says sidewalk and paving, and we put it in there.
Got it. Okay.
What did it cost to build this whole thing then?
The total cost,
It's on your Instagram reel.
I don't remember anymore, man. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I was curious, like what it cost to build, what you rent it for, what you sell it for.
Arthur, the developer on Instagram, guys.
Yeah,
go
the
there and you can see what he
there
paid.
you go. Construction probably 2.7 with the parking lot, so about 180 a square. I'd say ballpark. You know, I think I had a buddy building 50 or 60 units as well, said 175. But more than likely now, it's probably picked up a little bit. I don't know. I think you guys are going to be building some. What are you guys projecting on your cost?
So I think
That's parking lot and vertical.
So I think we're at 180. If Dane was here, he would know better. Like, honestly, we could be 180 to 220, and I could not tell you. But I want to say 180, and then we're all in at 220, including our land cost and everything.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Well, 180 a square, but you're saying 180 a unit.
So no, 180 a square foot.
A square foot.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're in a different market where the valuation is slightly different, I'm assuming then?
Yes, based on the cap rate.
Because land, for Vancouver, you're like $25K a door for land on top. So I don't know. On the square footage, that's probably let me see.
Yeah, so that was 2 acres we bought for 1.575 fully entitled for 66 units to go on, which is, what's the math there?
I don't know.
Arthur, you mentioned that if you were planning to build to rent, you would go with apartments. My question to you is why? Because what comes up in my mind is we did a 15 unit. It took 3 times as long to rent up that 15 unit versus we built out 12 townhomes and we had double the applications that we had units.
Why is that? Because the rents were lower?
I think
No,
Vancouver
rents were higher.
multifamily is overbuilt a little bit. And so that same concept, I'm not doing as much multifamily. Same with Portland is a little bit overbuilt. So on the multifamily side of things, you've just got to have a really good amount of equity or a really good value add play. I don't think that many people are doing new construction multifamily.
Rent was almost double for the townhomes, but people wanted that 3-4 bedroom townhome with a tiny garage that you can't fit a smart car in. But they were.
You're saying the townhome was double than what an apartment would be.
So
but what about to what a house would be?
So it took us 3 months to stabilize and rent 15 units
and
for an apartment.
And we had to give crazy incentives.
And 1 free month, 2 free months of free TVs, cash,
concessions,
whatever concession to make it work. The townhomes I built, which was 12 of them, townhomes were less profitable. But the townhomes I built, it took us 2 weeks to stabilize 12 of them.
So we noticed Salem was a market that got overbuilt, and everybody built 2-2s. That was the hot product. So you're going to build a 100-unit project. 65 of them are going to be 2-2s.
Yep.
So you look at that across 1,000 units, you got 650 2-2s. We had too many 2-2s. Like it probably is the best unit type, but we just had too many of them. Now the really smart developers are going out there and they're building townhomes. I have a client who recently built a 250 unit project. As part of that, he made about 30 units townhome. When he finished his first phase, I think the first phase was 88 doors. 30 of them townhome units. They rented every single one of those townhome units for one apartment rented.
Yep.
That's exactly the point. Is we've realized the same thing. Is the apartment in general? I think the Northwest is maybe a little overbuilt, and the townhome product has a lot more demand right now.
People want to feel like they're living in a home. They want a little backyard, a garage. Maybe it's 2-story, a little bigger footage. They want to have. It's not detached, but they have more of a feeling like they're in a home. But just because right now, I mean, it costs you $3,000 a month mortgage to go buy an entry level home,
right? And you pay $2,600 for
$2,600 for rent. You get the same thing. You don't have to come up with the down payment. You don't have to deal with all the maintenance and everything. So it's like it's like a one step closer to owning a home, but you're not quite in there. Otherwise, you go rent an old house and you have a bigger yard, but then you got an older house and you just got to deal with older finishes and stuff. But yeah, I think people want to live in something brand new. They got 1,400 square feet, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, single car garage, nice big driveway.
We also made a few mistakes on that 12 unit. We could have built it for cheaper. We could have not paid extension fees. So I think that project could have made more profit if we did it right.
Yeah, but I would also say, for me, at least my thought process is I will build a 15 or 20 or 30 unit, or I'll go build a 3,500 square foot custom home. Not custom, it's still spec in Lake Oswego, Oregon, or I'll go do a duplex, triplex, fourplex in Portland. It doesn't matter what I do. For me, it matters on the margin and the numbers. So that's what I focus on. If I can, for example, I don't build 3,500 square foot homes. But in Philida, I had a deal where the margin's almost 40%. I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it because it makes that much sense. In Vancouver. In Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neighborhood in Vancouver.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just a pocket in Vancouver. A home right there went pending for $1.3 million, 5 years old. Another home, $1.2 million, 5 years old. I ran the numbers on these lots. We already closed on them. And at $1.23 million, it's about 30%. But brand new construction, not too far away, is 1.5. And so I'll go do that because it makes that much sense. And the cash on cash is going to be almost 200%. Why wouldn't you? And so if I go and find the right multifamily land and I underwrite townhomes, it's 10 townhomes or 15 apartments, and look at both and say, okay, rent right now is $1,800, it used to be $2,000, or it's $1,700, and I underwrite it both ways, I go with whichever one makes more sense financially on the numbers side. So like I have a parcel in Vancouver as well. We're doing 28 townhomes. I could have put 35 apartments, but 28 townhomes are better, more profitable, and more rentable.
And you're going to rent them up, depending on which market you're in, you're going to rent them up probably without concessions. They're going to rent faster. You're going to keep tenants there longer. And as they turn over, you're going to be able to fill them. Whereas when you're competing against, this is all supply and demand. This is not rocket science.
Exactly what I was going to say. Supply and demand and numbers. That's it. So if I see this $1.5 million build, all three of them went pending in 5 days, I'm building it.
Yeah.
Right? If they're going pending in 6 months, and I'm like, I should probably just build a duplex instead there. Right? So it's supply and demand and numbers. What does that pro forma say?
What do you guys feel about, and this is kind of a little bit off of our deal topic, but in the world of Trump and Doge and tariffs and all the things that are happening, where do you feel that this all goes? Because you guys are balancing between build to sell, build to rent. You're doing our co-host on this show, Mike Nuss, does a lot of this. And, sometimes you build something, you think you're building it to sell, and it becomes build to rent. Like, where do you think the world is going in the sense of, are homes going to once again become affordable for people to where that you won't be able to do as much build to rent? Or do you think that as soon as the rates go down, prices are just going to go up and people are just going to continue to have a shortage of places to rent?
I think maybe you should share what Ryan Blair said about how the world is changing right now.
All right.
And he exits companies for $900 million, $100 million, $300 million. And so he's always thinking chess, 10 moves ahead. And so he shared something about how everything is shifting right now, and it's actually going to benefit us in the real estate space. So
his conviction right now, I mean, this guy built and sold a company, like Arthur said, for, I think the number is $792 million. And this guy is focusing on, guess what? Building a consulting company to teach people how to get back into business and, for example, like the trades. Because AI is taking over white collar. And who do we not have enough of? Plumbers, HVAC, electrician, those kind of jobs. So
it's going back to the industrialized style of life and living. And I think that's so interesting because that benefits all of us here.
Because AI can take over writing up a document. It can take over underwriting a deal. It can do all of those things, but it can't frame up a house unless you have some, manufactured homes that you modular or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen first in the next 5 years. And so we should see a lot of people coming over to blue collar, period.
Trades. Yeah.
And I think with markets, it's how do you say this? It's hard to predict, right? I think everybody thought the same thing. Trump's coming in, market's going to get way better. It's just going to go. Like, we're good within a year, rates are going to go down. And even before he became president, everyone was expecting rates to come down quicker. And so it's one of those things where I don't necessarily try to predict the future. I try to mitigate my risk. And I think that having the mindset of let me see how I can mitigate my risk will make me feel comfortable in any type of market. And what I mean by that is what we just talked about, multifamily versus townhome. I always underwrite 3 or 4 different scenarios. And I go, okay, if the market does take a turn and I have townhomes or I have apartments, well, I can condo and sell off these townhomes, apartments I'm maybe stuck with at that time, like whatever. And I'm always strategizing on how do I get that risk to a point where I feel like this is an easy deal, right? And I think you just have to exercise your mind on that, or a build we're doing, right? We're doing it cash, we're partnering, we have somebody learning. It's a whole different structure that is mitigated the risk to the point of there's essentially no risk, right? Because you're not leveraged, you're not doing certain things, and you're playing the market kind of where it's at.
At the end of the day, we created a 7-step process, and it's our framework for how we do every deal. So many people on Instagram, they comment and they're like, how the heck do you guys build these houses? And I always tell everybody, step 6 is the physical construction. You're worried about the thing that matters the least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, find the right land, step 1. Underwrite the right deal, step 2. Build the right plan, step 3. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, those things matter so much more than the actual physical construction, which is what people get overwhelmed with. You know
so, like,
I mean?
a little side note, if you think design, step 3, right? Some of the, what's kind of a deal that went sideways, or in general, we had so many doors at once going, and for us, it was copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. We start getting feedback, right? Little things. Oh, there's no closet space because your water heater took it up. Oh, this is too small. Oh, this is not the way you like it. And you're like, well, I'm stamping these things like I'm spitting them like sunflower seeds, right? And so you're seeing, oh, the other person's product is selling faster just because of those little tweaks. And so again, for us, that's what we've realized is it really comes down to how you start and how you pre-plan, and the rest of the execution
guys,
is
it's
pretty
literally
simple.
that simple. We had a Google spreadsheet, and we asked for feedback out of every single person that viewed our property. And when somebody's buying our unit, like, imagine how much that hurts. They're buying the unit next door because of a closet space. Like, that's such an easy problem to solve. The next round of units, guess what? Ours were selling first because we had massive closets.
So you adjust.
We added a cantilever to the bedroom to add a few feet to the closet, and all of a sudden our units are selling first, and people are coming up to us at coffee shops and saying, how the heck are you guys selling your units? You know what I mean?
Same with multifamily. You think, okay, what can I do different? Like, we have the townhome product, and I'm like, well, pickleball is a massive trend. ChatGPT, best friend. Hey, what's the biggest trends? Which apartments are renting? Which apartments are renting better? What's something else I should do? Like pickleball, a barbecue, like whatever that looks like. You do those little things that are unique. So for us, a lot of our product was selling because we had stair treads. They weren't carpet. So we actually had finished stair treads, like LVP, and that helped us sell more. So we're always thinking, how can I mitigate that risk? How can I be one step ahead? What can I do slightly different that doesn't change it? Another sample, because we're building to sell, I lime wash the walls for pretty much nothing, meaning put that nice Portola look, and our units are selling faster, right? So you're always doing those little things, but also looking ahead at the market, what's going on, what's happening. If it's multifamily and there's not as much buyers out there, okay, well, can I get a way better deal on the value add, and is there a ton of upside if I do something specific, right? And so I think that value add in anything has been really the bread and butter for us.
So tell us, like, about some of the hard things. You guys are, you're doing big business, millions of dollars. There's been times where you're just stressed out. There's got to be days where you're like, what in the hell did I get myself into? Like, I want to know, like, when have these times happened, and how do you guys get yourselves through this stuff? Does it help to be together because you got family right there? Or
my cuddle buddy.
Does it make it worse? You guys just like punch each other in the face, or like what? How do you get through the tough times? Tell us about it.
If I didn't have Arthur, I don't know if I would be here today, because the biggest thing is Arthur is so good with his numbers, and he projects forward the right way. I remember at one point we're sitting in our office. It's a tiny little like closet. And Arthur draws out this spreadsheet of interest reserve and the amount of time it's going to take for us to lose that interest reserve until we have a 100 to 200K payment in hard money loans. on our projects.
It was like 100 doors active for sale. And when you're at the 100 doors, you're maxed out, meaning all your draws are done. So you're at the full balance. And so you're paying that 10% on the full balance, right? And that's where you see the most amount of payments.
And so we're sitting there and we're like this is a bomb and the fuse is lit. Like that's what's happening. Had a 9-unit project and I'm like, it's not happening. $30K price cut per unit, like insane.
Well, to go back, we go, okay, we can either stabilize, rent, or cut margins and sell a little faster, make some calls, talk to our investors, whatever that looks like. And we're just strategizing. At the end of the day, it'd be terrible if you came to that point and you're like, okay, let's figure it out now. And the bomb's already, going off. So we're always thinking 6 months to a year ahead. But we saw this the statement balance every month is coming in at 200,000, 150, 100, and it's getting covered by the interest reserve, but that's still somebody's money, right? That's just prepaid money. And so I think that's the biggest thing is projecting that, and that was probably that's where I lost the most sleep, right?
So at least the houses were finished, but now they're not selling. It's every developer's nightmare is to do all that work to get something out of the ground, and then it feels like nobody wants it. Like you have that moment where you're like, they say if you build it, they will come, and then you're like, okay, I built it, they're not coming. What's happening?
So the worst thing is at this time, me being a builder, getting a 10% fee on these 100 units, I'm making really good money. You know what I mean? I go out and buy a Range Rover. I go out and buy a boat. I tow the boat to Arizona. I have it in storage. I'm flying there every other weekend for a $200 flight. Like, it's cheap. And I'm in Arizona on blue water.
But I'm over here and I'm like, he's like, you want to pitch in for the boat? You want to pitch? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm good. Because I'm like, I can see the future. I want to make sure I sell projects, get the money, go buy it, go spend it.
I sell my house. I move into an apartment. It's a $2,000 apartment. I'm like, dude, screw this. I get a $4,000 waterfront apartment. I'm enjoying my life.
I forgot that. Oh, my gosh.
$4,000 waterfront apartment, $2,000 boat payment, Range Rover. You know what I mean?
You're living large.
I'm living large.
New truck. What else?
Arthur's at home just freaking out. Yeah. You're out on the water.
I'm like losing hair.
Beers.
He's not freaking out yet. But there came a point to where I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm pacing back and forth, and I'm like, dude, I'm paying $120K a year in nothing, like for depreciating assets that are going to be worth absolutely
a month.
Sorry, $10K a month. Yeah.
No, $120K. Oh, your toys.
Yeah,
toys.
Just the toys.
I was like,
$10K a month in toys.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Builder fees are covering it. I'm doing good. But my wife wakes up and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm sick to my stomach." Like, and I bought a truck too. I'm sick to my stomach. I don't know what to do. And then like the next morning or shortly after, Arthur draws out this whole spreadsheet and I lose it. Like I had this whole like nails in my stomach feeling, and I'm like, oh crap. Bring the boat home, post it for sale, post up the truck, got rid of the truck. Like, I think I bought the truck for $72. I sold it for $70. Bought the boat for $196. I sold it for $190. Got rid of the apartment. I paid $8K to break the lease. Like, I was quick on my feet. That was probably my saving grace. Moved into a different rental that was super cheap. I'm sitting there. I have, truck's gone, boat's gone, everything's gone. This 9-unit, Arthur's like, if you don't sell this thing.
Well, so we go and we run the numbers on everything. Like, we rerun the numbers. We're like, okay, what's actually selling and quick? Like, pending in 1-2 days. We just projected all these different, and we're like, okay, we can do quick sales or we can rent it. So we're just running all these analysis on what can we do, what can't we do. Keep going on your 9-unit.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, I think Arthur saved my life.
First extension fee on the 9-unit, $40K. We're like, okay.
$40K. All right.
All right.
It hurts a little.
So I got rid of all that stuff, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, what do I do? If I pay another extension fee in 6 months, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? Just because I have to find that money somewhere. And so actually we ended up doing a refinance. I got a really high appraisal, but it was listed for less than the appraisal. Wow. I was supposed to get cash out. And the lender caught that, and the lender's like, nope. We're lowering your values. We're going to give you just a refi, no cash in, which was good. They gave me more time. But I was still that had a little bit of interest reserves, and I'm like, I'm not going to pay for these units because now you're working double because like you have to drop the price, but the interest is going up, and so you're forced to post the unit for less and less and less every single month, and all you're doing is this. You know what I mean? And so I just posted all units, dropped.
And this is the moment where we realized there is power in a fund, right? Because if you have a fund,
the cost of capital was insane.
It's different. You can rent everything out, take your time, but there's
just wait it
different.
out.
You're syndicating. People are, I want to pay out, even if it's less, and you're like, oh well.
Not even just cost of capital, but your runway to be able to pivot, like you said, to have 3 options on everything.
Yep.
You're when your clock runs out, like you said on that ticking time bomb, you don't have a whole lot of options. It's just I mean, I suppose you could have rented them out, but they still wouldn't have penciled on hard money payments, probably.
Yeah, there would be no cash flow, so you bring more money to the table, raise more capital. It's like it was a lot, and so we started playing this game and balancing out where we find the low hanging, or what would we call it, the lost leader, right?
Yeah.
Find that lost leader, and then boom, offer second, third, fourth, fifth. We're like, okay,
I think we sold within 45 days. We sold. 9
you start
units.
raising prices, and you kind of catch
90.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was.
No, sorry. In 45 days, we sold 9.
Oh, 9.
Nine.
Okay.
9.
So then we start figuring that out, and we're balancing. Let's rent some, let's sell some, depending on partners and what they want to do. And at that same time, we give birth to the wholesale company. And we're like, okay, we need some cash flow. And so that's where we started the real estate wholesaling side as well. I think it was in that pain of $100K to $200K in payments. We're like, okay, this is
what can we do to make $100K to $200K a month?
Yeah, what can we start that is not new and a completely different industry? And we're like, well, this is the only thing we can think of.
Yeah.
And so we started the wholesale side of things. And
I love it. What's that saying that necessity is the mother of invention or something like that? You know, it's like your backs were against the wall. You're like, we got to figure out how to make some money.
Yeah. I think our biggest blessing was the fact that we could project what was happening in the next 12 months. And so, we sold off some of the units. We still made a profit. I think if I would have held it for 6 more months, that profit would have been gone.
When was this all happening?
21,
22. Like when the market
interest
shifted.
rates at 8%. Yeah.
So that was summer of 22. That happened 3 years ago.
I was about to say 23. So around end of 2022.
Yeah. I was gonna, so the fact that you guys survived that is great, because that's the problem with being a home builder is you tend to roll your profits into the next lot, and next thing you know, you got a huge subdivision going, and the market shifts.
Yep.
And now you're like, oops, I paid 60 a lot, now they're worth 20 a lot, or what? I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there because I'm not a builder, but I mean, you end up kind of going all in. You're just playing this double down until you get to the end, and then you lose it. And a lot of builders did that in 2008, where they had just been riding this fat wave. And they could have probably just pocketed it.
When do I sell, right? And
you just go like, they never do, because they just you got crews to run. You got to keep, it becomes your job. You got to keep everything rolling. It's very difficult to back out. Even my apartment developers are that way. They always say like, Gabe, one of these times I'm going to build one of these 200-300 unit complexes. That's going to be the one I hold, and I'm retiring. It's done. Sure enough, it's like each one comes along. Now this is going to be the one. Nope, sell that one too. Let's move. Let's go build another one. I'm going to keep it going.
That's exactly the tough piece of new construction. And so when you don't have a business, you don't have something that's bringing in that revenue and that cash flow, you're always it's that dangling carrot, right? Like, I'm going to sell this one. I'm going to sell this one. So the 15-unit apartment, yes, I could have stabilized it. I could have got better financing, put some more money into the deal, and held it as an asset. It could have been a good move, but I look at, well, what's my payoff? What's the cash in? What's the actual proceeds after tax? It's worth it to go put it in the 28, right? Because you're thinking the next deal. And so we're learning to stabilize, right? We went through that. I think that was a big wave, and it was a lot of sleepless nights and figuring it out, but we mapped it out and we made it through, and now we've got our next...
The next units that we built were so much better because we got longer loans.
Yep.
Now it was like, oh, this is easy compared to what we went through there.
Did you guys sign on debt for all 100 of those, personally?
Oh, yeah.
So the lenders gave you that amount of debt, and they were okay with it?
Yeah.
I'm still shocked. I don't know. It's crazy.
Because that's how much in debt was.
But we would go out, we'd go to lunch, we talk, plan, everything. They can see that we had a good head on our shoulders, and I think that's a little different. It's not just a massive company. It was smaller firms, and they see what we're doing. They're going to our sites. They're inspecting. They're saying we're building on.
They personally flew out to our sites.
We're building on time. We're doing the right things. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not just, I have this idea and I'm going to try to do it. we were doing it, and we were paying off loans, and I think, I don't know,
in the process,
I've paid off probably what, 50 million in loans, 60.
Yeah. Well, that was like on 100 houses, like 30 million in debt you took on, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of exposure on a couple of mid-20s
Crazy.
guys.
But at the end of the day, I mean, you can imagine, like, on one project, some of these hard money lenders would walk away with $200,000 to $400,000 in finance fees. So in the same way, sure, we took a massive risk, but they were probably in Vegas enjoying life.
Remember how I told you at the break that I lost 2.1 million? Guess how much my hard money lender made?
How much?
2.1 million.
Exactly. but you guys see the difference where when somebody's making money, whether it's us or them, they're like, I think, okay, looking back, guys, the biggest lesson I can say is it's hard to find a good operator. And at the end of the day, we're building these things fast. We're building these things cheap. We're present. No matter how stressed I am, if I'm sleeping 3 hours or I'm sleeping 8 hours, like, I'm on site and I'm figuring it out. And I think that work ethic to the lenders was the reason why they just kept giving us loans, because they're like, okay, these guys are clearly, they're doing fine. Like, I show up, I had 3 hours of sleep, but I look fine. I showered. I'm on site. The site is busy, guys. The biggest lesson I learned from working for the national builder, on every house every day, there's not a single day that a subcontractor cannot be on site, because if I had 50 million or 30 million or 20 million dollars of loans times 10%, the cost for not having a sub on site is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, whatever it takes, you have to be on site. Otherwise, like, I'll think of anything. I'm going to charge you a $500 penalty per day, because I'm paying $500 in interest, $1,000 in interest, $2,000 in interest per day. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what got us, like, to build a fourplex in under 4 months is insane. But
it's nuts.
It's nuts, right? So at the end of the day, I think those few things are why somebody would be like,
I got the iPhone pics too for the dates, right? They're like, no way. I'm like, yes way.
One of the things you should add to your checklist when you're looking for new builders in their markets is to have them send you a video or picture of their sites to see how much activity is on the site. When my partner and I, we got into this mess with a developer up in Astoria.
Hey, tell them the details of what you signed on. They'll like it.
Yeah. So I signed on to $7 million worth of debt, personally guaranteed, for 0.02% ownership of the project. I did it with a contract in place that we would be the end user and own it once it was complete. But there was nothing in
Talk about motivation.
nothing in our JV agreement that spelled out what would happen if the developer failed. And guess what? The developer failed. We would drive up and look at the project. This is a big project, 5 buildings, 66 units right on the water. We'd drive around and there'd be like 2 trucks on site. There's like 1 or 2 electricians over here. There's like a plumber over there. We're going, what's going on, man? It's a ghost town around here. And that's when I met Mark Gallegos, who's our current partner, who ended up finishing that project for us. And I pulled into Salem here. We were building 26 units. And I told my partner, I said, come check this out. We drive over. We pull in. We can barely pull in the parking lot. There's got to be 25 trucks in the parking lot of this little project. They're running different subs per floor.
Yep.
It's like, you're not allowed on this floor. This floor is for HVAC. This floor is for drywall. This floor is for whatever. I mean, I don't even know how the trucks were pulling around, and there was so much.
That's when I know when Ruben's subs are calling him saying, this guy's in my way. I'm like, okay.
You get that call a lot.
All the time. You wouldn't imagine how many citations I have in the city of Portland for parking issues because I have so many subs, and this sub ran over the neighbor's flowers and this and that, and I'm dealing with that kind of problem. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah. They're on top of
the fine.
It's that simple. It's that simple. The plumber's cussing out the HVAC guy because they're in the way of each other. That's the right way to do it.
We started getting parking passes instead.
Yeah.
You should get a time-lapse video on your projects to watch that 4-month process when you're building something to come out of the ground, something that plays in a couple-minute reel, like watch this building go up.
I'd say that's one of my regrets is I have a ton of iPhone videos, but we don't have like, it's me at the site or time-lapse or anything because we were just doing it.
The visual of it is something that I didn't know until I'm driving from one project to the next, and I'm just going like, clearly there's one building that's going to succeed and go up and be done, and there's another building we're going to have problems. You knew we were going to have problems just by the rhythm of the project.
I mean, cost of financing is the silent partner. Yeah. Like when at the end of a deal, when I'm looking at the numbers and $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in finance fees, I'm like, dang, like that's where it's at. And
Who could have paid the fund.
Yeah.
So go back to your chart shows you that you're going to run out of money, and you guys decide to start your wholesale division. Is the wholesale division what saved you? Did you end up having to start writing checks for interest payments, and the wholesale division is what wrote those, or did you end up selling enough houses to get out of it?
We made the same mistake in wholesale that we did in construction, ultimately, but we did start 2 more businesses after that one. At the end of the day, our first strategy is drop the prices low enough, still make a profit on the projects, get rid of them.
Yeah,
and
so what we would do is
restart.
start selling. We'd start selling. You still have proceeds, right? They come in, cover payment. Mm-hmm. So we started selling off. You sell a unit, there's a $15K proceed, you've covered a payment. We'd keep going, and I would stagger it out to the point where I'm like, okay, we have enough time. I have enough loan balance where it's not going to affect us, and we can hold out the project and now sell the last 30% for a little bit of a better price. So I was playing, like literally every day I was on spreadsheets playing this game, and I think in 1 month we had 30 or 40 pending. And so I was literally just paying down some of these loans and
then we were
getting
like,
the balance.
We were like, okay, we could start slowing down selling, right? Because we've paid off so much. Okay, we got to speed up selling. And so we played this game of, watching the spreadsheet. And over the next 12 months, we're like, oh, now we're dragging out to 24 months because we have more time.
Like I had 11 unit. I'm in California. I called the agent. I'm like, we still can't hit that price of offers coming in. And so we ended up finding a really sweet spot where we went pending on 4 or 5 units in 3 days. And then I said, oh, okay, don't do any of the other ones. Yeah. No, you don't raise. I don't lower those. I do one. I call it the loss leader. And then finally I'm like, okay, those were 260. Oh, I'm getting 300 for this one, 290 for this one, right? And so, and what I did is I paid off $1 million with 4 sales. Yeah. I'm like, cool, just paid down $1 million. That was $8,000 a month in interest payments or whatever it was, if that's right. Yeah, 100K. So that's what we were playing, that strategy. And it was in that moment, I felt like I was going to war. Honestly, it was like crazy. And you just have all these doors and you're paying down, you're running calculations. If I pay down, okay, I don't need the payment for this one, so I'm going to take the proceeds and pay down even more of the loan. So that's the game we were playing. And then finally we got through that and we're like, oh, and we have all these other new projects that were better, that were good and profitable, and we're like, it felt good to sell a profitable project. The
best thing that I can say,
because those did make money, but it was not worth the 2 years. Right? Yeah. They may have made some money. You get a check, but you're like, okay, I was expecting a much bigger check than that, right? Yeah. And so that's the biggest lessons in the wholesale company. It was a lot more work than we thought. It was a lot of training, hires, all that. But we finally got it to the place where it's running at a 40-50% margin, and we're like, okay, this is cool. But that's after everything, right? We've already gone through the trenches, and we're like, well, that didn't help us.
After everything we've done, 250 plus doors we've done, we lost money on one deal, and that was $16K. So we got ahead of it so much that was the only one deal.
Were you having fun during this time?
Yes and no.
Does it seem like you were having fun now looking back, but in the middle of it you were like,
yeah, in the middle of
it hard?
It felt pretty crazy, but looking back at it, I think we did about the best that we could have done for everything, and we dodged some big bullets, I'll tell you that. And so now we think much differently, and we make sure the deals are extra juicy, right, to the point where even if the markets or things cool down, it's always going to be a profitable deal. And we've learned cost of capital and looking at maybe a fund or long term. And so we have a different vision, right? We came into this like, okay, we built these houses, this works. How many can we do, right? And so it was definitely crazy.
Yeah. Looking back, I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, you would.
No, I definitely wouldn't. I am a different person. I mean that. I live a completely different lifestyle now. But
I would say
the lessons learned were really, really, really helped us a lot, because
I know how to solve a $40 million problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So now you need to do an $80 million deal.
Yeah, so now we're at that point where we're like, I think we can make the same or more on the next 113 we have with the 250 we did.
Yeah.
And that's the plan. So now you have to do, 40% of the output to make just as much. Yeah. And so that's our shift, and we like that. And then we also realized cash flow is king. Now money is just as important as long-term wealth, and some people forget about that.
Yeah, Trevor.
You too.
He said, don't call me out on that.
No, he spends. I learned it from you. So I used to invest for cash flow. And then I met Gabe, and I was like, oh, it's all about long-term wealth and equity. And now we do zero cash flow.
Why would we want to make thousands when we can make millions?
I agree.
That we actually can't spend because it's on our SREO.
One day, though.
One day. If we live long enough.
That's it. See, I don't know about that.
We're going to look like geniuses one day. You just watch. It's going to work. I promise.
No, it will work at the end of the day. 100% it'll work. But, you have to really sacrifice short term. And so for us, we launched the first wholesale company, then the loan brokerage, then everything else after that. We were able to live off of those new businesses. Like for all I care, start an HVAC company. My friend has a $10 million offer on the table right now for his HVAC company. You know what I mean? Like, and he's running a day-to-day business. And then, if he only knew what I knew, and he could do a little bit of building on the side, and then invest his profits from his HVAC company, number one, he'd pay no tax, accelerate the depreciation, write it all off, right? He offsets his taxes. He's making a ton of money in the business, and then putting it all into rentals. So your strategy works, but I think that you definitely need some kind of cash flow.
I would say 100%. Active with passive is the key. And I always thought I'm going to go all in on the essentially active. It was like more like the passive, because I'm going to build and rent all this stuff, and I forgot that I need cash flow, right? Yeah. And so I'd say if you mix the active with the passive, you can create yourself.
It sounds so simple.
A pretty gnarly portfolio, whatever it is, right? The HVAC company, and you start doing development. I know plenty. One local guy is a plumber and has a plumbing company and does 50, 60 doors developing and building. And so getting to that place and knowing you have this business that has value and building out the asset side of thing is great. Or you syndicate, right? And you still get paid for something, whether it's an acquisition fee or if it's a broker fee, you still have something coming in for you to continue to do what you do and not necessarily rely on the big check. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably, that probably carries a lot more weight than it sounds. You don't rely on the big check, but make sure you have something stable that you're doing, and then those big checks will come.
I hope Dane and Mark aren't listening to this. Our partners, we started a plumbing company last year, and Trevor and I tell them how stupid they were for doing that, and now you're telling them that's a good idea. So.
It's genius.
Hey, it all depends. It's not necessarily the business, but it's how you run it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There's a guy that can be doing who knows what and have 100. So, for example, one guy had a plumbing company, scaled it in California, sold it for $200 million. Now he's scaling an HVAC company. So you can't say plumbing or HVAC doesn't work. But you have to decide, what are you doing? Are you scaling that, or are you doing something else? And that's where I kind of I'm starting to feel that of, you've got to balance out what's your goal, what do you want to do, and the why, and then you go towards that.
To me, building out real estate portfolio that grows to $200 million, letting it just sit there and do its thing sounds a lot easier than trying to grow an HVAC company to $200 million. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I run businesses and I try to grow them, and it's just like my portfolio just grows on its own while I'm over here screwing around trying to grow my businesses. It's like, why am I trying so hard?
But worst case scenario, your living is covered.
Worst case. 100%.
Best case scenario, you go find a mentor, he teaches you the right things, and you blow up an HVAC company and sell it for $20 million, and then you have your real estate on the side,
right.
$200 million. I know a kid in his 20s, and he has a private jet, helicopter, flies around, and he's on the East Coast running an HVAC company. I mean, come on, like there is a way to do it, and
but it's the less than 1%, right? In anything, I think in anything, I don't.
It's the 1% of the 1%.
It's the 1% of the 1%, honestly. Yeah. So that's what it really comes down to. Whatever you do, it comes down to how you run your systems and how you do it and how you execute. And I think that's everything. And then you play the game of chess and forecast 3 to 5 years in advance and mitigate the risk, and I think from there on out, it's only up.
I love it. I'm still jacked up. You guys, being 28, 30 years old, I can't tell you, I think that's one of the things that gets me so excited is just the fact you guys have so much life in front of you, and you've learned what you've learned, so much wisdom and experience already, and to be doing the big things you're doing. I'm a super fan. I'm super impressed with you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to definitely start following you, and I hope that we get to stay in touch and follow your progress. So we're going to wrap this episode unless Trevor's got something. You have more questions?
We'll ask him later.
I was going to say, the only thing is, I always say, if somebody says they know it all, stop talking to them.
Run.
I always say I'm always figuring it out.
Run.
But my experience is behind me, and I use it to move forward.
100%.
We're always figuring it out.
All right. Well, we are super excited to host you guys tonight at the SRE Investor Meetup. For those of you listening, we do an investor meetup in Salem. Trevor started it It is the largest investor meetup in Salem, Oregon. It happens the first Wednesday of every month. Sign-ins 5:30 p.m. at the Sassy Onion on State Street. It's called the SRE Meetup. Tonight, our special guests are going to be Arthur and Ruben, and they're going to come talk to hopefully 100-plus people I think we'll have tonight. So we're about ready to go have a fun evening of more of Arthur and Ruben. So Arthur and Ruben Ryapolov, thanks a lot for joining us. If people want to find you, it is Arthur the Developer on Instagram and
Correct.
Ruben the Builder on Instagram, and you guys are 7figurebuilder.com is your platform. You guys want to learn how to build houses, make a ton of money, partner with these guys, reach out to them. I'm super excited, and I think that we're going to make more money just by hanging out with these guys. So you're never going to get rid of us now.
Hey, we've got to rub off on each other. There you go.
All right.
So.
We're going to energize each other. So
Let's go.
everybody, thanks for listening to Deal Junkies. We will see you next time.